Okay, so we want to focus on technique. There's kind of two ways that we could think about placing our thumb. One is having the thumb on top of the neck, kind of like a hook, which is fantastic for playing chords, like these chords. But when you have to do something stretchier, like a bar chord, usually we have to bring our thumb down to the middle of the neck in terms of height. And so what I want you to practice doing is keeping your thumb in the middle of the neck in terms of height. And the best way to practice doing this is to think about barring. So you could bar 2 strings, then 3 strings, 4 strings, 5 strings, and 6 strings. Notice when I'm doing this that I'm using the side of my index finger that faces my thumb. This part right here, you can kind of see some of the lines from where the strings were. So you want to place it like that, not like this, where my elbow's all the way out, but more inside. And if that feels a little bit awkward, you can push the neck of the guitar away from you, so you more naturally bar there. And of course, this is going to feel different at fret 1. It's probably the hardest place, unless the action of your guitar is very high, than it will at fret 12, where you kind of have to have the elbow cramped in quite a bit, and it's difficult to get the side that faces your thumb. It's a bit more flat. This is okay. So you want to be placed like this, and here's what you're going to do. You're gonna do 2 strings, 3 strings, and try to have your finger as parallel to the fret as possible. We don't want this sort of diagonal shape or like a bend like that. Sometimes you can get it, but you have to push much harder to get a sound like that. We want it parallel to the fret as much as possible, like this. If you have to, you can even cheat and use your middle finger to help you push down, but eventually you want to be able to do it without that. So once you can do 6 strings barred, what you want to do is practice playing this bar like that, and then do it again where you're using the side of your index finger to play only the low E string, and you're muting the other 5 strings like that. So do that 10 times. So that was twice, 3 times, 4 times, etc. You could also do it where you're just muting 5 strings. So playing the A string, muting those other 4 strings, barring 5 strings, playing just the A string, and muting the other 4 strings. And of course, you do the same thing with 4 strings. So muting 3 strings, only playing the D string of my index finger, and then muting those other strings. If you can mute even the A string with the tip of your index finger underneath that string, that's an extra bonus, but not necessary yet. So like that, and then... Now, when I'm demonstrating this, I'm keeping my fingers out of the way so you can really see what my index finger is doing, but when I'm actually playing like this, I'm actually trying to keep them kind of floating right above the strings and the frets they would be hovering above. So the middle finger is kind of hovering above the fret above the next fret after my index finger, ring finger the one after that, pinky finger the one after that. They kind of just float there comfortably, a little bent, and I'm trying to keep my wrist as straight as possible. So the idea behind this is that you want to be using the pad of your index finger and your fingertips with your other 3 fingers as much as possible. So these ones should be hyper bent, well, not hyper bent, but quite bent, and then this one should be relatively straight. It's not perfectly straight, but it's quite straight. And why are we doing that? Well, it's so that when you do a bar chord, like this E form bar chord, you have the right position. Or when you do something that requires a larger stretch, you can more easily get there, because stretching like this gives you a larger range than if you're doing this all the time. You can't spread your fingers out as much. So once you've warmed up with this, you could do it. You could apply that same concept to any sort of scale shape that you're practicing, like pentatonic, for instance. Using the pad here, fingertip there, pad of the index finger, fingertip there, and really as much as you can, fingertip, like ring finger especially. Most people have a hard time getting it right close to the nail instead of using the pad kind of like this. And the giveaway, the cue that I notice is this joint here usually collapses. So you want that bent, and when you're bending that, you can more accurately hit the fingertip here, which is closer to the nail. And so you practice that, really focusing on your technique. And this requires a lot of focus, but if you practice this regularly, eventually you're just going to start doing it automatically, and you're not going to have to think about it anymore. And that's how you're going to develop fluency with this stuff. It also applies to way more than what I'm just talking about here. There's so many applications I couldn't even cover them in a brief little video. That's it.